The all-important bilateral agreement or the bilateral trade agreement did not seem to have happened really the way India would have wanted. But nonetheless, negotiations are on between India and the United States as to how the trade agreement will really pan out. Nonetheless, the two leaders did speak to the media after their bilateral engagement, and a lot was discussed about terrorism, defense, drug trafficking, oil and energy, and of course, both the leaders voiced their commitment for a free and open trade deal, and that the negotiations for the same are underway at this point in time, with Secretary of Commerce Wilbur Ross and Minister of Commerce in India Piyush Goyal striking a chord between each other. So it remains to be seen as to when this all-important trade pact be signed between the two. At this point in time, what we're given to understand is that negotiations are underway. That's one of the biggest takeaways. Of course, when it comes to the US President Donald Trump, he in fact went ahead and said that the US International Development Finance Corporation, which is a government agency that usually finances private development projects, will go ahead and establish a permanent presence here in India. So that is again a big boost in all likelihood going forward for the private development projects here in the country. And that apart, the President of the United States went ahead and said that the two nations have made a lot of progress on a comprehensive trade agreement, and that Trump himself is optimistic that the two nations can reach a deal that will be of great importance for both the countries. In fact, let's now listen to what US President Donald Trump had to say after the bilateral meeting with Prime Minister Modi. Again, very similar lines that both the leaders told. No terrorism, no drugs, and that the trade deal will be worked upon. Listening.
Well, thank you very much. And Prime Minister Modi, this has been a very special visit. Unforgettable, extraordinary. What can you say? Very, very wonderful to be with you. Thank you very much. And Melania and I have been awed by the majesty of India and the exceptional kindness and generosity of the Indian people. We'll always remember the magnificent welcome the citizens of your home state showed us upon arrival. It was a profound expression of strength and of real love. Really, it was love. And I think everybody saw that, everybody witnessed that for themselves. The First Lady and I also reflected on the memory of Mahatma Gandhi at his ashram, and this morning in Delhi we laid a wreath in his honor. We visited one of your nation's most stunning cultural treasures, the world-famous Taj Mahal, and we look forward to continuing our visit tonight during a wonderful state banquet with President Kovind at the Presidential Palace. I know Prime Minister Modi will agree that this has been a very productive visit for both of our countries. Earlier today, we expanded our defense cooperation with agreements for India to purchase more than $3 billion of advanced American military equipment, including Apache and MH-60 Romeo helicopters, the finest in the world. These deals will enhance our joint defense capabilities as our militaries continue to train and operate side by side. In our discussions, Prime Minister Modi and I affirmed our two countries' commitment to protecting our citizens from radical Islamic terrorism. In this effort, the United States is also working productively with Pakistan to confront terrorists who operate on its soil. Together, the Prime Minister and I are revitalizing the Quad initiative with the United States, India, Australia, and Japan. Since I took office, we have held the first Quad ministerial meeting. I guess you would call it a meeting, but it seems like so much more than that, an expanded cooperation on counterterrorism, cybersecurity, and maritime security to ensure a free and open Indo-Pacific. As we deepen our partnership with India, we remember that our two countries have always been united by shared traditions of democracy and constitutions that protect freedom, individual rights, and the rule of law. During our visit, we discussed the importance of a secure 5G wireless network and the need for this emerging technology to be a tool for freedom, progress, prosperity, not to do anything where it could be even conceived as a conduit for suppression and censorship. To guarantee that the infrastructure of the future is built in a safe, transparent, and accountable manner, the United States is working with a range of partners, including Australia and Japan, to create the Blue Dot Network, a major initiative to ensure countries around the world to have access to private sector-led...
Well, that was President Trump right there speaking about what was really discussed between him and Prime Minister Modi. A lot has been spoken about the Quad as well, the India, US, Japan and American ties, Australian ties right there, apologies, for a free and open Indo-Pacific. That apart, 5G is also being spoken about. But yes, the limelight happens to be stolen by the kind of defense deal that has been signed between the United States and India. Back on the phone line is Air Marshal B.K. Murali. Many thanks, Air Marshal, for joining us once again. Air Marshal, kindly go ahead and tell us as to what your opinion is about the kind of deal that we're going to sign. And yes, the fact really remains that when it comes to the trade deal, negotiations are only on. It seems as though a big boost for the defense aspect of it, but not really the trade part of it. Nonetheless, you had US President also speak about the Islamic terrorism emanating from Pakistan, and that there is a need to curb it at the earliest. Your take?
Yes, Adarsh, actually, if you have noticed, the statement made by the Indian Prime Minister, he said that the defense deals that they have signed today are integral to the strategic partnership between the two nations. And, ever since the United States declared India as their strategic partner, the acquisition of, the state-of-the-art weapon systems from the United States through the foreign military sales FMS route has become a little more easy. And Apache helicopters and, the Romeo helicopters with the Indian Navy are two examples. In fact, this definitely will do a lot of good to Indian Army and Indian Navy, and we only hope that, in the days to come, our most important and absolutely state-of-the-art acquisition of the Reaper drones also go through. Yes, just like you said, yes, there is a little bit of, delay as far as the trade is concerned, but one could make out from President Trump's address during the press conference that this also will probably go through in the days to come because of the discussions between the Commerce Secretaries and Commerce Minister of both the countries. But as far as the defense deals are concerned, yes, Indian Army gets a boost in the arm with 6 Apache helicopters, and most important of all, the Indian Navy gets 20, Romeo helicopters and others. You very well know that the presence of the Chinese warships, particularly in the trade route of Strait of Hormuz and in the Indian Ocean after they took over the port in Sri Lanka, has been causing concern to the nation. And these helicopters, armed helicopters, Romeo, which are perhaps the finest in the world, will actually go a great way, play a very great role in actually neutralizing if there is any threat from the Chinese Navy.
That's right, Air Marshal B.K. Murali. In fact, again, one other important element that really comes to mind at this point in time to me is the fact that today was Prime Minister Modi's turn to speak about the India-US joint exercises, joint military exercises. Yesterday, we had President Trump speak about the Triumphant Tiger, one of the military exercises that was held between the India and the United States. So, how important are these military-to-military contacts, the exercises, joint exercises between the two countries? And it looks like there'll be a big boost for that as well, given the fact that both the leaders have spoken about it yesterday. We had Trump, and today we had Prime Minister Modi.
Yes, Adarsh, it is true. Even though, joint exercises between the USAF and the Indian Air Force has been going on for many, many years. In fact, it is known as the COPE India exercise between Indian Air Force and the Pacific Air Force of the United States. But recently, the Tiger Triumph, which is a land, air and sea joint exercise between United States and India took place, and President Trump mentioned about this in his speech also. And the bilateral relationship, after the bilateral discussions and an agreement between the two nations will definitely give a boost to this joint exercises. And just like President Trump said, our forces can train together, understand each other's doctrines, and then play their part in actually defending the sovereignty of the nation. In fact, he made it very clear that both the countries are committed to fighting the Islamic terror from across the border, and also what happens in the United States. Yes, the joint exercises will definitely get a boost. And then in the days to come, we can see more such exercises taking place between the two countries. And this will help a lot in actually cementing our relationships, particularly between the defense forces, and using and also putting to test our strategies and doctrines.
Yes, indeed. Many thanks, Air Marshal B.K. Murli, for joining us with your insights on the kind of defense connectivity that India and the United States are attempting to build at this point in time. The key takeaways, of course, continue to remain as to how it's all been about no terrorism, more military cooperation, of course, no narcotics, no drugs. That seems to be the moot points, the most important, the crux that has been discussed between the Indian Prime Minister and US President Donald Trump. Again, so much has been spoken about the trade deal, but the latest is that Trump has expressed his optimism that the two countries can go ahead and somehow reach a deal that will be of great importance for both the countries. That is the only word on the trade agreement. You also had Prime Minister Modi speak about the trade agreement, wherein he said that a new trade deal, a new and comprehensive trade deal is on the cards, and that the Secretary of Commerce Wilbur Ross and Minister of Commerce Piyush Goyal are in touch. They are interacting, and that a trade deal is not too far.